This is One on One. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Wayne Winborne, Executive Director, Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers-Newark. Good to see you, Wayne.
Good to see you.
It's a big job at a wonderful university, my alma mater. Talk about why the Institute of Jazz Studies is so important.
It's important because, well, first, thanks so much for being here. You're very important to this community. I'm a big fan of your work.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you do it again? I'm joking. I'm only teasing. Talk about why this is so important.
It's important because it's the largest archive of jazz in the world. So it's been a great resource globally to scholars, graduate students, writers, others. Ken Burns spent 2 weeks at the archive.
The great Ken Burns, PBS, our Ken Burns.
Absolutely.
When he did jazz, right?
Absolutely, doing research for it.
Hold on, 150,000 recordings, 6,000 books. Dozens of instruments played by jazz greats. I mean, the Miles Davis trumpets. Come on.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
At Rutgers, down the street.
At Rutgers in Newark. People have known about it inside the jazz community for years, but we haven't had a great big external face. The person I replaced is the great Dan Morgenstern.
That's right.
A legend in jazz. So it is a big job. It's big because we've got a great resource available to the community. It's a part of Newark. It's an asset both to the people of Newark and to the city and beyond, and folks need to know about it.
Let me ask you this. I'm not casting aspersions in any way, but I'm a Rutgers guy, taught out of this campus for years, known about the Institute, because I'm a Rutgers guy and a Newark guy. Why don't more people know about this institute?
Well, with a lot of institutes like this, the focus has been on substance. They haven't
How
done
dare you?
Exactly.
Not on branding, marketing,
Not
and
on
external.
branding, marketing. Those terms hadn't even existed. They're not thinking about telling their story, which is the way I put it to folks. Branding and marketing, jazz musicians, jazz writers, folks, no, that sounds too evil, empire-ish. No, we need to tell our story. People need to know about it because they need to take advantage of what's there. We have listening rooms. We have community residents who come in Friday mornings and they get their jazz on. They pick their favorite album from the 50s or 40s, and they walk into this wonderful room and they're able to transport themselves. So we need to get that story out.
Let's talk about partnerships. I mean, there's a partnership right here at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Yep. John Schreiber's a big part of that.
We
just talked to John. I mean, he loves jazz. He was a big part of you coming here, right?
He was.
Let's talk about Nancy Cantor, who is the chancellor in Newark.
A legend in urban education and in college circles. She came to us from Syracuse, her most recent position. She is a globally recognized leader in the understanding of community engagement as done by universities and partnerships between cities, municipalities, states, people, community, and all of the resources that any university brings to bear. She came to Newark. She chose to come here, and she's putting her stamp on it because she's really making it clear that we are a part of this city.
And specifically, talking about partnerships, the other partnership is with the premier, quintessential jazz radio station, I mean, in this country.
Absolutely.
It is WBGO right here.
Right across the street.
And you're partnering with them. And we happen to be partnering with actually the Institute for Jazz Studies because they have a gala coming up at WBGO, and the two honorees, your organization and ours.
Absolutely.
But more importantly, let's talk yours. What's the connection between the Institute and WBGO?
For years, we co-produced a show called Jazz from the Archives, where some of our esteemed staff folks and leaders would come on and play stuff that really wasn't being played on the radio. It's beloved across the country. We're going to resuscitate that, or some version of it. We've been talking about. Amy hasn't committed to it, but she knows I'd like to.
Amy, the CEO there.
Amy Niles is the CEO of WBGO. And so we've had a close partnership with them. Of course, they are the microphone for this music and for the musicians who created it and the writers and all of the folks who are attached to it. So it's natural that we would work closely with her. They've got some exciting things that are going to be coming up, and people are going to hear about it at their gala.
So let me ask you, talk about the gala. And by the way, we are honored to be honored. Our production company, the Caucus Educational Corporation, we're partners with WNET in New York, the PBS flagship station, NJTV, housed right here in Newark. That's the public television station in Newark, New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey. If we're not for Neil Shapiro, our CEO, and with all due respect, there would not be public broadcasting in the state of New Jersey. We're dedicated to jazz. We're dedicated to as the American art form, the quintessential American art form. But the bottom line is this. I often wonder what is and who is the market for jazz?
Everyone.
Is it? See, that's the answer that I get, and I ask myself, is it really?
It actually is. It really is, everyone.
If you tell them they will come?
It's not just if you tell them they will come. You have to sometimes go to where people are. New Jersey has a rich jazz tradition, and right now there are so many jazz masters, known and unknown, who live in New Jersey, in and around Newark, but also in other parts of Jersey. You've got a number of musicians who play on Broadway, who have big bands. Glenn Frank, a trombonist, I think he's in West Orange, has a big band every other Monday night at Susie's Barbecue.
Yes.
Mike Katz and those folks at the New Jersey Jazz Society have for years been producing wonderful information and promoting concerts.
You got old school folks like Bucky Pizzarelli, and John, who we actually interviewed right here in NJPAC.
The great Bucky Pizzarelli.
The great Bucky Pizzarelli.
I mean, a national treasure.
What about the TD James Moody Jazz Festival right here?
One of the biggest and most
NJPAC.
important jazz festivals on the East Coast. You've got musicians like the great Slide Hampton, one of the greatest arrangers and composers, Christian McBride on the young side.
We can just keep doing this.
So if you take,
but what makes that a larger audience, though?
It doesn't make it a larger audience, but it really identifies that our audience is already large, and that there are a cross section of people who've been enjoying jazz. For young people, they're the young kids who are into the older stuff, the bebop, but they're also the young kids who are looking at melding hip hop and jazz. We need to go to them. We need to go out into the communities, not just in the schools, but in the communities, and meet them where they are. That's how we're going to expand this
You
audience.
okay with, I don't want to get into a whole philosophical discussion, but you're not a purist per se when it comes to jazz? Because you heard you talking about the melding of jazz into the hip hop thing. You okay with that?
Jazz has always been a very big umbrella. You think about
I'm
the
an
origins
R&B
of
guy.
jazz.
You okay with the?
Absolutely.
Really?
Kool and the Gang's first album was titled Jazz. Maurice White of Earth, Wind & Fire was Ramsey Lewis's drummer in a jazz trio.
So you okay with the whole crossover thing?
Aretha Franklin sang jazz. I don't even know if it's crossover. Glenn Campbell was a great studio jazz musician. It's always been there. When you go back to New Orleans and Congo Square, you have African Americans playing syncopated rhythms with European instruments.
So I grew up as a
using
kid, my
Western
parents
harmonies.
listening to Sinatra, jazz.
Frank Sinatra.
Jazz.
Billie Holiday loved Frank Sinatra, loved him, told people, check this guy out. It's always been a
it's not so
That's what's
clear-cut.
beauty about it. That's what's beautiful about it. Well, it's clear cut in terms of the quality of it.
But
and
not
the impact of the art.
It's not just this.
It's always been a bigger tent than people realized. Always.
When did you know you loved jazz?
That's a good question.
And where? But where'd you
I
grow
don't
up?
know that
Where'd
it
you
was
grow up?
jazz. I grew up in Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know that I realized it was jazz, but I loved it from the time I was a little kid. I was a little kid watching, Duke Ellington had some television special on. I don't know how. I must have been maybe 6 or 7.
Right.
And my parents had on the TV, and I was standing up going out of my mind.
Really?
It's a true story.
It was Duke Ellington.
True story. That was the first one that I can remember recognizing. But I mean, as a small child, when I'm 8 or 9 or 10 years old, I really remember the theme to Hawaii Five-O. Lalo Schifrin, pianist who played with Dizzy Gillespie.
Dizzy Gillespie.
Loved that. I don't know if you remember a Private Eye show, Mannix, that used to come on.
So hold on,
jazz,
you hear the
all kinds of
songs
jazz.
connected to these great popular shows, and you go,
it's
wait a minute,
jazz.
that's jazz.
Absolutely. Well, later I realized it was jazz, but at the time I just thought, oh, this is cool.
All I know is Nancy Cantor and the people at Rutgers have the right guy. Wayne Winborne, Executive Director of the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers University, Newark, the most diverse university campus in the United States of New Jersey. Great things coming from Newark. Good stuff. Looking forward to working with you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you, too.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJPAC has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and by the New Jersey Performing Arts Center, in cooperation with NJTV and 13 for WNET. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJPAC has been provided by TD Bank, Cone Resnick, Gibbons PC, Josh S. Weston, the Fidelco Group, the Northward Center, and by Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey. And by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.